everybody, today I'm going to review TEKTON's full polish extra long ratchets. Now they do have two different versions. The smaller one is going to be a 3/8 inch model, and then the larger one is going to be a 1/2 inch model. Now other than the drive size, the main difference between the two of these is going to be the length, with the 3/8 coming in at 18 inches long, and then the 1/2 inch drive is coming in at a whopping 24 inches long. Now, although these are not designed to replace breaker bars, they are designed to withstand a ton of torque, so you can put a lot of force on these without worrying about stripping out the actual mechanism inside the head. Now, the 1/2 inch drive can withstand up to 488 foot-pounds of force, and then the smaller 3/8 can withstand up to 195 foot-pounds. And to put that in perspective for you, this is 2 feet long, and I weigh about 175 pounds. So if I stood on the end of this and the bolt was seized up, I would be putting 350 foot-pounds of torque on this, and it could easily handle another 100 foot-pounds of torque with no problem at all. Now, where you're actually going to use these, with the 3/8, I use it primarily for oil drain plugs, where customers will bring their vehicles in, and the previous quick lube place has run that oil drain plug in with either a small air ratchet or air impact, and you just can't break them free. If you have something this long, you can get a lot of leverage on there and crack it free right in your own driveway, and you're not going to have to bring it back into the shop to have them loosen it up for you. Now, alternatively, with the 1/2 inch model, this one's going to be great for seized up lug nuts or suspension parts, and you'll be able to put a ton of force on this, and it will break the fastener free, and it's not going to actually damage the ratchet at all. Here's a closer up look at both of the ratchets. You can see the longer one is going to be the 1/2 inch variety, and it's coming in at a full 24 inches long. And then the shorter one is going to be the 3/8 inch drive, coming in at 18 inches long. Now, the main advantages to ratchets this size is the fact that you're going to be able to put a ton of force on a nut or a bolt to break it free, and you're not going to have to slip a pipe over the end of here or use a breaker bar. Now, as far as the heads on the ratchet go, they are going to be constructed exactly the same way, with the main difference, of course, being the size. You can see that the 1/2 inch version is going to be wider, longer, and thicker than the 3/8 inch one. But as far as the design and operation of them, they are going to be completely the same. Both of them do have the quick release button on the rear, the directional change, and then they are assembled exactly the same way. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open both of these up, and you can see what's inside. Okay, now that we've removed the 3 screws on each ratchet that hold everything together, I'll go ahead and pop the faceplate off of both of them. Now, the faceplate is what really holds the internals of the ratchets together, but we can see side by side they do look completely the same inside. And I also want to point out that during the testing, as well as any use of these, I did not take them apart prior to and lubricate anything for better results. Everything is exactly as it was, straight out of the box. And you can see they are bone dry from the factory. So really, for longevity or just for a smoother operation, I would highly suggest lubricating this either with white lithium grease or really any sort of grease or lubricant of your choice. Even 3-in-1 oil would give some layer of protection. It's going to keep that metal to metal contact really to a minimum. Now, I also want to point out the little cog on here does have 72 teeth. That's where they're going to get their 72 tooth count as far as the ratchet goes. And those are going to directly engage with the pawls. There's a left and a right pawl. Each of those has 4 teeth, which really equates to almost 5% of the teeth being engaged at any given time. So you can see the left one would be engaged currently. If we take the little selector switch and we move it to the opposite direction, you can see it will disengage and the right hand will engage. So that's going to allow you to loosen or tighten simply by moving that left to right. Now, I also want to point out these are held in place really with spring tension. So I'll go ahead and just pop them out of here right now. You can see this is one of the pawls. It's solid metal. The other little pawl will come out, and inside you can see these little springs. Now, that presses directly into the housing, and that's going to keep the pressure against those, so they'll always be engaged on the mechanism. Now, this is going to be exactly the same on the 3/8 inch ratchet. The pawls are going to be the same, only smaller, and then the internals are going to be the same, only smaller. So side by side, other than the size of the ratchets and then the thickness of the metal, they are going to be completely the same. To show you what I mean by lubricating this, I'm going to go ahead and do that now just to show you how easy it is. Now I do want to point out the fact that as this comes straight from TEKTON, it's going to be completely dry, there's no lubrication, and although you can hear all the teeth being engaged, you can hear that it is extremely loud. And that is all directly related to that metal to metal contact. So what we're going to do is add a layer of protection to this, along with smoothing it out and making it quieter. You can pop that faceplate right off after you remove the 3 screws, hold the pawls in place with your fingers so those don't pop out, and then just grab the drive end and pull the little cog directly out. This is what we're going to be lubricating. So what you want to do is go ahead and just take this. I would suggest using white lithium grease. I like white lithium grease because it does not really gum up when it gets really cold like wheel bearing grease would. This is going to stay nice and slick and smooth operating whether it's hot or cold outside. Really the worst case you'll have with this is the fact that some of it may seep out if you put too much in there, but if you just use a shop towel you can clean it right up. So what we'll do is take our white lithium grease, we'll go ahead and just squirt some on that little cog, and really that's about it. So we'll take this, just move it around with our hands, and you know, you want a nice really layer on there. You don't want it gummed up or just sopping out the sides, but really just the way I'm putting it on here is perfectly acceptable. We'll go ahead and just spin that all the way around so all the little teeth are completely filled in. We'll then take it, place it back inside the ratchet. We'll put that little lock ring back in place, and then we'll put our faceplate back on it. Now, just that little bit of grease, listen to the difference. So it's not that real high-pitched metal sound, and when we change directions, it's going to be exactly the same way. So that's going to keep things a lot quieter. It's also going to make this last a lot longer because you're not having that metal-to-metal contact, and now you've added a layer of protection. Here's the oil drain plug on a 2003 Honda Pilot. And you know, many times if you've went to a quick lube place, they'll put these back on way too tight. And then when you go back later on to change the oil again in your own driveway with just your typical ratchet, you're unable to remove it simply because they put it on with way too much force. And even if you press on it with all your might, it's not going to break free. But what you'll do is take the TEKTON extra long ratchet, and because you're getting so much additional torque, you can just barely pull down on it, and the drain plug's going to break free. Now to really test the power on the 1/2-inch ratchet, I have a 1.5-inch grade 8 bolt that has 1-inch threads inside of it. We're going to be tightening that up in the shop press, and then using this 3/4-inch torque wrench, we're going to torque it down to over 400 foot-pounds, and we'll see if this is going to remove it. Okay, I put about 450 foot-pounds of torque on that bolt. Now let's go ahead and see if we can remove it with the TEKTON. Popped it right off. So now you've seen TEKTON's full polish extra long ratchets for yourself. And like I showed you in those clips, having that extra length will really allow you to put a lot of extra force on the fastener to break it free, where a standard wrench or a ratchet just isn't going to cut it. Now the other thing I want to point out is that because these are TEKTON hand tools, they are covered by TEKTON's lifetime guarantee. And if you ever do manage to break them under normal use, meaning you didn't slip a big pipe over the end of this and use it as a breaker bar, they will replace it for you free of charge. If you like this video, please click like. If you like my channel, please click subscribe. And thanks for watching.